What's up, guys? This is Kyle from Wax Museum, and you might be able to guess based on the cards on the screen that I have another relic sourcing video for you today. And no, it's not all Nate McMillan, one of my least favorite Pacers coaches ever. He just happens to be a big part of it, but it involves a big group of players. Not only that, it involves what I believe is one of the best memorabilia lot purchases that Panini has had to date. And granted, I don't know all the lots that they bought privately or the stuff that they bought directly from players, but from the stuff that I've been able to figure out, I think this is one of the best lots, but I'm not going to show it to you just yet. I want to kind of give you some of the backstory first here. So, I like shoe cards a lot, and I've talked about shoe cards before. I don't own a lot of shoe cards because they're kind of expensive, but I was noticing at one point that, hey, there's a lot of Sonics shoe cards here. Just a lot of obscure players here, and I've got some of them up on the screen, like Ricky Pierce or Sam Perkins or even Nate McMillan. And it just made me wonder, how did they acquire so many Sonic shoes? So, knowing that there were a lot of probably Sean Kemp and Gary Payton signed shoes out there, or game worn shoes out there, I figured I would search for one of the more obscure players. So, I settled for Ricky Pierce, and eventually I ended up at this lot here, which was a lot from August of 2016 on SCP, and it's called the Ultimate 1990s Seattle Supersonics Game Worn and Signed Shoe Collection. And then we can't see the rest of the title there, but we'll see that it's actually related to Kobe Carl. So you see there's a picture of the shoes there. There are 7 pairs, and then there's one solo pair. They won this for $528, which had the buyer's premium included in that. There's not a lot of individual pictures, so you have the group picture there, and then there's some Getty images, and then any of the shoes that had signatures on them, it looks like they got close-ups of those. So if you go through the description here real quick, they tell you that the source is indirectly George Karl, who was the Sonics coach. They basically said, and I'll skip through here, a lot of this is fluff. They tell you the different types of shoes, but they said that all of this comes directly from the personal collection of Kobe Carl, son of George Karl, who played in the NBA from 2007 to 2010. He received all items from his collection either straight from the player or through his father, as in this case. So once I had this lot of shoes in mind, I wanted to take a look at some of the other Panini shoe cards and see if I could notice some trends. Maybe I wouldn't be able to tell right away that it was in fact the lot that they purchased, but it was starting to look that way, and you know, I wanted to see if I could find some more proof of that. So I kind of went through every pair there. Like I said, there were 7 pairs, and then there was one solo shoe. So first off, we had Sam Perkins, and even though they didn't give us a close-up of the back of that, I guess they called them the Insta Pump pair. We do see that above the rim, kind of that strap that they had on the back of the shoe. You can see it there on the left side. Well, it's in one of these heel logo cards. So even though I can't necessarily match the stitching on that because I don't have a close-up picture, I do know, okay, it's the same type of shoe. So that looks pretty good so far. Then the next pair belongs to Nate McMillan. They were black Nike Air Force. And once again, you know, I can't see the heel of that shoe or the tongue of that shoe necessarily, but it does appear to be the same style. So once again, that looked pretty good. And as I kept going through the pairs here, I kept noticing some of the same things. Like here's an Eddie Johnson pair, and we can see that it's an Adidas pair, and then there was an Adidas heel logo. And I will come back to the picture on this card because there's a story that goes along with that as well. So going through the rest of these pairs, all right, Ricky Pierce, he had a pair of Nike Airs. Well, guess what? There's a Nike Air heel logo out there. So everything is lining up so far. Everything looks pretty good. Detlef Shrimp, we had these black laces here. Well, guess what? This shoe has black laces, similar stitching on it. I don't see any exact threads necessarily, but it all looks promising. Next up is Sean Kemp. Now, they listed the Sean Kemps in the description as the Rain Man signature model pair. I am not a shoe expert. I think it might be the Aftershock. I don't know. There's probably a shoe person that's going to be watching this and they know for sure. I think it might be the Aftershock. And if that's the case, then this heel logo, from what I've seen, matches up with that Aftershock shoe. So, so far, so good still. And then that lone shoe was a Gary Payton shoe, a Nike Air Flight. Well, guess what? They had a Nike Air Flight tongue logo. And even though I can't really zoom in on that tongue all that close, it looks the same. Now, I do notice there's like, I don't know if it's blood or some sort of nasty stain on those laces. So if I could find that lace, then, that would be a pretty good indicator as well. There is one last pair here, and it's Irvin Johnson, not Irvin Magic Johnson, but Irvin Johnson. And he does not even have cards in the Panini era. So it might just be that they, for whatever reason, don't want to make cards of him or don't have the rights to him. So if they did indeed acquire this lot of shoes, then they've just got these Irvin Johnson shoes just kind of chilling for the time being. So now that I've seen that, yeah, there definitely are some consistencies here. I wanted to see if I could find cards with other parts of the shoes. Those were just the big ones. Those are the ones that were easy to identify. Are there soul cards out there? Are there lace cards out there? What else can we find? So I'll kind of go through some of those in order here as well. You already saw this Sam Perkins. You saw the back piece already. Well, here's some of the other pieces. You see the sole. There's like a small sign part. There's two different lace cards. There's the Reebok logo that would have been inside the shoe. And then there's part of a Reebok logo from the side of the shoe. But we didn't really have close-ups on a lot of that stuff. So once again, it is looking consistent. It is looking good. But there's not necessarily definitive proof here. So let's keep going. We've got Nate McMillan. We got a lot of pieces from Nate McMillan here. There's that sign swoosh. There's the Force logo. There's the heel. We've got both tongues. We've got a tag, which they didn't show any of the tags from the shoes, I don't think. And then we got a little bit of the sole as well. So there's a lot of Nate McMillan shoe cards out there. I feel like we can do something with that. We will probably come back to that. Actually, I know for a fact we will come back to that, but I'm just building suspense here. All right, Eddie Johnson. So we saw the Eddie Johnson Adidas shoes here, and they did show the signature on the side of one of these shoes, and that is worth showing because I want to match that signature up to. It is an Eddie Johnson that played for the Supersonics. He also played for the Suns, played for the Rockets. He's the Suns commentator right now, and he's on Sirius Radio most afternoons. So this is that Eddie Johnson. Well, there were two Eddie Johnsons that played for the Sonics, and guess what? Panini used pictures of both guys. So the one in the top left here, that heel logo is the correct Eddie Johnson, and we know that because the signature matches. Even though there were two of them on the Sonics, the signature is the one that's pictured wearing number 8. I believe he also wore 22 at one point as well, but that is the correct Eddie Johnson. The 3 cards here on the bottom, which are all amazing cards, and you know what? I would still try to own one if I had a chance. I think I actually lost bidding on one at one point. That is not the correct Eddie Johnson. So I've had a lot of fun with Panini Photo Goofs before. This is a big one that I hadn't caught, that I caught during the course of this. I was just looking at it and I'm thinking, that's not Eddie Johnson. And it turns out, well, yeah, it is Eddie Johnson. It's just not the correct Eddie Johnson. And whoever's picking these photos, that they definitely don't know that. They're just searching Eddie Johnson Sonics, and, it's a reasonable error, but still a funny one at that. All right, let's move on. Ricky Pierce here. We had those green and white colorway Nike Airs. There's a lot of Ricky Pierce pieces, so those are all pretty consistent with the shoes as well. Let's move on to Detlef Shrimp. He had this Adidas pair. Looks like there's a signature on the side of those shoes as well. Well, we got a lot of nice Adidas pieces from Detlef. It would have been great if we just saw a close-up of the heels because they have those loose threads in there, although the eyes both have kind of the same part. But you do see some wear on that top heel shoe. So that would have been nice, but we didn't get that. And then the Sean Kemp. I'm trying to be very careful with the Sean Kemp because I think they actually acquired several other Sean Kemp shoes as well. In fact, there was another lot that I should have showed you from SCP that had I think it was called the Kamikaze 2. And I think Panini's definitely used those in some cards. But I believe these pieces could be from the shoe that I showed you, though. It's just, I think. I can't 100% prove it. Like I said, I'm not a shoe expert, but I think those are from that. And then the same thing with that Gary Payton. There's just not a lot out there. And it was only one shoe, but it appears that these two could possibly match up. So now, That gives me the go ahead to really pursue this further. Let's look a little bit closer for threads or signatures or any pieces that we can match up. And that was my next task here. Took quite a bit of time. I decided to go more for signatures. So you can see some of these are signed. I started with Sam Perkins because those shoes were signed pretty big on the front, and I did find some signed pieces in some immaculate cards. This one looks to be an exact match. So once I saw that, I realized, all right, everything that I suspected here appears to be true. So very happy about that. But I didn't want to stop there just with one little match. So I found another card here. That matches the signature on the other shoe. It's just flipped, but feel very good about that. And then the one that really clinched this whole thing for me, it's funny, it all comes back to Nate McMillan here. And he had this signed swoosh on the side of those black Air Force shoes. And, I found three pieces of a signed swoosh, and I think he had signed probably both shoes. So these might not even all be the same piece. So I kind of pieced things together there. And two of those were from the one that they gave us a close up on. And when you put those together, those are an exact match. If you go down to the pressure points of the pin, to the stitching, to everything about that. You can even see that one of the there's a marker spot above one of the threads. It's in the exact same spot on the L's on McMillan. So I knew that was an exact match. And then for good measure, this isn't really a signature, but I took that Force logo, and you can see that the thread between the F and the O, and then the O and the R are connecting, and then that middle part of the R is pretty much the same as well. So that was how I was able to confirm that this was indeed the lot that Panini bought. I'm assuming they just bought it directly from SCP because they do buy stuff from major auction houses. I love stuff like this. Now, that doesn't necessarily guarantee that they're game worn. I could go and I could try and photo match them after that. That's a whole different pursuit. I'm not going to do that right now, but that would be the next step. That's when I would start photo matching if that's something I wanted to do. But maybe that's something you guys can do. If you own some of these cards, maybe that would be something that you could check out for yourself as well. So anyway, that is the latest relic sourcing video. I've got some more projects like this kind of lined up. It just takes a while to put it all together. It takes a little bit of motivation as well, but I hope you enjoyed that. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Remember, there are new episodes of the audio podcast that come out every Thursday. And as always, thanks for watching.